All right, so we're getting ready for an overhead line worker interview. Talk about high stakes, right? We've
Yeah.
got some RoleCatcher resources right here. And I'm already seeing this is way more than just, you know, knowing your way around a power line. It's about safety and teamwork and thinking on your feet. Like a real-life electrician superhero, kind of.
You got it. It's about keeping those lights on for everyone. And that definitely takes a special blend of technical skills and on-the-spot problem solving for sure.
Okay, so let's just dive right into these RoleCatcher interview questions. They've got a whole bunch here. And I think tackling those is going to give us a great roadmap for your prep. First up, describe your experience with electrical equipment. I know you've got the skills, but how do you really make your answer stand out?
That's a great question. Yeah, it's tempting to just rattle off a list of tools and voltages, but what really shines here is showcasing your safety mindset. Think about the protocols you followed religiously. Maybe even a specific example where your attention to detail prevented an incident. Interviewers want to see you're not just skilled, but responsible.
So it's about going beyond just knowing the equipment. It's about demonstrating that ingrained safety culture.
Exactly. Now imagine they follow up with, what's the most dangerous piece of equipment you've worked with and why? This digs a little deeper into your risk assessment skills.
Ooh, that's a good one. They're really trying to gauge your understanding of the inherent dangers here.
Right. You can talk about a high voltage line or a complex piece of machinery, but the key is to explain why it's dangerous and the precautions you take. This shows you're not just fearless, you're calculated and you respect the power that you're working with.
This has already given me a whole new perspective on interview prep. So we've tackled equipment. But what about those heights? I bet that's a big part of the job.
Absolutely. And RoleCatcher has a question that gets right to the point. How do you ensure safety while working at heights? Now, everyone's going to mention harnesses and lanyards, but to really impress them, you need to go deeper.
Okay, so think beyond the basics. What are those less obvious things that show you're a pro?
Think about the three-point contact rule. Always maintain in 3 points of contact with the pole or structure. Mention regular equipment inspections, communication with your team, and maybe even a time you spotted a potential hazard and took steps to address it.
That's great advice. It's about demonstrating that proactive safety mindset, not just following the bare minimum.
Right. Now imagine they follow up with, have you ever had to work in challenging weather conditions? How did you adapt your safety procedures? This tests your ability to think on your feet and adjust to changing environments.
Okay, so they're not just looking for someone who can follow a checklist on a sunny day.
Huh.
They want someone who can handle the unexpected.
Exactly. You can talk about working in extreme heat, wind, or even icy conditions, but the key is to explain how you modified your approach to maintain safety. Maybe you used different equipment, adjusted your work pace, or increased communication with your team.
This is fascinating. It's like they're trying to get a glimpse of in action out there in the field.
They are. And that's where RoleCatcher's AI comes in. Remember we talked about how it can analyze job descriptions? Well, it can also help you tailor your answers to highlight the specific skills and experience they're looking for.
Wait, so it's not just about practicing generic answers. It's about customizing them for each job.
Exactly. Let's say a particular job emphasizes working in remote locations. You can use the AI to analyze that description, and it will flag keywords like off-grid, wilderness, or limited access. Then when you're practicing your answers, you can weave in examples that showcase your experience in those types of environments.
That's amazing. It's like having a secret weapon that helps you hit those key points that really matter to the employer.
It is. And the best part is you can actually practice answering these questions with the AI and get personalized feedback on your responses. It's like having a virtual interview coach right there in your pocket.
Okay, so we've talked about safety equipment and even a little bit of AI magic. But what about those times when things go wrong? I bet they're looking for someone who can handle a crisis.
Absolutely. And RoleCatcher has a question that's designed to test your problem-solving skills. Can you describe a time you had to work through a difficult situation while on the job? Now everyone makes mistakes, but it's how you handle those challenges that sets you apart.
So it's not about pretending to be perfect. It's about showing how you learn from your experiences.
Right. And when choosing your example, try to find a situation that demonstrates your ability to stay calm under pressure. Think critically and find a solution. Maybe you had to troubleshoot a complex electrical fault, deal with unexpected weather conditions, or even navigate a conflict with a coworker.
This is where those soft skills come into play, right? It's not just about the technical stuff. It's about showing your personality and how you interact with others.
Exactly. Now imagine they follow up with, what did you learn from that experience and how would you approach a similar situation differently in the future? This shows that you're not just describing a story, but you're reflecting on your actions and continuously seeking to improve.
Okay, so it's about showing growth and a willingness to learn from your mistakes.
Right. It demonstrates that you're not afraid to admit when you've messed up, but more importantly, that you're able to turn those experiences into valuable lessons.
I'm really starting to see the depth and strategy behind these interview questions. It's like they're trying to peel back the layers and get a glimpse of your true potential.
They are. And that's where those RoleCatcher career guides come in. They provide a great overview of the entire career path, from entry level all the way up to lead line worker. Understanding those different stages can help you frame your answers in a way that aligns with your career aspirations.
So it's not just about answering the questions. It's about showing that you're thinking about the bigger picture and where you want to go in this field.
Exactly. And speaking of bigger picture, let's talk about pole climbing. I bet that's a question they're almost guaranteed to ask.
Okay, pole climbing. I can already feel my palms getting sweaty just thinking about it.
It can be intimidating, but remember, they're not expecting you to be a seasoned pro right off the bat. What's important here is showcasing your willingness to learn and your understanding of safety procedures.
So even if you haven't climbed 100 poles, you can still impress them with your knowledge and attitude.
Absolutely. You can talk about any training you've had. Maybe you've practiced on a training pole or observed experienced climbers. And again, emphasize those safety protocols. Mention the proper techniques, equipment inspections, and the importance of communication with your ground crew.
It's like a recurrent theme here. Safety, safety, safety.
They really want to make sure you take it seriously.
They do, and for good reason. It's a physically demanding job with inherent risks. So demonstrating that safety-first mindset is absolutely crucial.
All right, this is all making a lot of sense, but I have a feeling we've only just scratched the surface of these RoleCatcher resources. There's so much more to uncover, and I'm eager to dive deeper.
Me too. We've got plenty more questions to tackle, and I think you're going to be surprised by the insights we'll uncover.
Well, then let's not waste any more time. We'll be back in a flash to continue our deep dive into the world of overhead line worker interviews. Welcome back. Excited to keep digging into these RoleCatcher resources and unraveling the secrets to acing that overhead line worker interview.
Okay, before we jumped off, we were getting pretty deep into pole climbing and those all-important safety protocols. I'm curious, what are some follow-up questions they might throw your way to really test your knowledge there?
That's a great question. They might ask something like, have you ever encountered a situation where you had to deviate from standard climbing procedures? What did you do? This probes your ability to adapt and problem solve on the fly.
Okay, so they're looking for someone who's not just a rule follower, but also knows when to think outside the box while still prioritizing safety.
Exactly. You could talk about a time you had to navigate an obstacle on the pole, like a bird's nest or damaged equipment. Or maybe you had to adjust your technique due to weather conditions. The key is to explain your decision-making process and how you ensured safety remained your top priority.
This really highlights the importance of thinking critically and being prepared for the unexpected.
Absolutely. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about electrical distribution systems. RoleCatcher has a question that often pops up. Can you describe your experience with electrical distribution systems? Now this one can feel intimidating, especially if you're earlier in your career.
I can see how that one might throw some people off. It sounds pretty technical.
Right.
What's the best way to approach it?
The key is to break it down and tailor your answer to your experience level. If you've worked directly with distribution systems, great. Describe your role, the types of systems you've encountered, and maybe a specific project where you played a key part.
But what if you're newer to the field and haven't had a ton of hands-on experience with those systems?
Don't worry, you can still showcase your knowledge. Talk about the theory behind distribution systems. Maybe mention any relevant coursework or training you've completed. Even discussing how different components work together shows you understand the basics.
So it's about demonstrating your willingness to learn and your grasp of the fundamentals.
Right. And remember those RoleCatcher career guides we mentioned? They break down those different career stages and the typical responsibilities at each level.
Right. So if you're aiming for an entry-level position, you can align your answer with those expected duties, showing you understand where you fit in.
Exactly. And here's a little tip. RoleCatcher's AI can actually analyze the job description and highlight the key skills they're emphasizing.
Wait, seriously. So it's not just about generic knowledge. It's about tailoring your answers to what they're specifically looking for.
You got it. Let's say the job description mentions troubleshooting or maintenance of distribution systems. You can use that insight to frame your answer, showcasing your understanding of those specific tasks, even if you haven't done them independently yet.
This AI is like a cheat code for interview prep. taking all the guesswork out of it.
It really is. It's like having a personal guide helping you navigate the interview landscape. But let's not forget about the human element here. Technical knowledge is crucial. But those soft skills can truly make or break an interview.
Right. It's about more than just knowing how to fix a power line. It's about teamwork communication and being able to handle those stressful situations.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher has a question that digs right into that. Can you tell me about a time you had to work as part of a team to overcome a challenge?
Ah, the classic teamwork question. Everyone's got a story, but what makes a good answer here?
It's about choosing a story that highlights your collaborative skills, your ability to communicate effectively, and maybe even your leadership qualities. Maybe you had to coordinate with multiple crews to restore power after a storm, or troubleshoot a complex fault where everyone's input was crucial.
So it's not just about describing the task. It's about showcasing how you interacted with your team and contributed to the solution.
Right, and imagine they follow up with, what was your specific role in the team, and how did you ensure everyone was on the same page? This digs deeper into your communication and coordination skills.
Okay, so they're really trying to gauge your ability to work effectively within a team environment.
Exactly. And this is where those real-life profiles in the RoleCatcher career guides can be super helpful. You can see how experienced line workers talk about their teamwork experiences, get a feel for the language they use, and maybe even pick up some tips on how to frame your own stories.
Those real-world insights are invaluable. It's like getting a sneak peek behind the curtain and seeing how the pros approach these situations.
It is. And remember, even if you haven't led a team officially, you can still demonstrate those leadership qualities by talking about how you took initiative, communicated effectively, or motivated your teammates.
So it's about showcasing those core skills that translate to any level of experience.
Exactly. And you know what else is great about these RoleCatcher resources? They highlight some of the key industry trends that are shaping the future of line work.
Oh, right, like that shift towards sustainable energy solutions we talked about earlier. I bet that's creating a whole new set of challenges and opportunities for line workers.
Absolutely. And being able to talk about these trends shows the interviewers that you're not just looking for a job. You're looking for a career in a dynamic, evolving field. They might ask something like, how do you see the role of an overhead line worker changing in the future?
Okay, so how do we even begin to answer that? It's like predicting the future of electricity.
It can feel daunting. But remember, they're not looking for a crystal ball reading. They want to see that you're aware of the trends and have thought critically about their impact. You can talk about the increase in demand for renewable energy sources, the integration of smart grid technologies, and the need for skilled line workers to adapt to these new systems.
So it's about showcasing that you're forward-thinking
Yeah.
and ready to embrace the challenges ahead.
Exactly. And here's where your own research can really shine. Dive into those industry publications, explore those online forums, see what the experts are saying about the future of line work. The more informed you are, the more confident you'll feel discussing these topics.
This is all so insightful. We've covered safety, teamwork, technical knowledge, and even the future of the field. I feel like we're really starting to paint a complete picture of what it takes to succeed as an overhead line worker.
We are, and the best part is that we're armed with these incredible RoleCatcher resources to guide us every step of the way.
It's like having a personal coach and a crystal ball all rolled into one. Okay, before we get too carried away with the future, let's bring it back to the present and those interview questions. We've got plenty more to cover, and I can't wait to see what other gems we uncover.
Me neither. Let's dive back in and keep unraveling the secrets to interview success. I think you'll be surprised by what we find.
All right, we're back and ready to tackle this final stretch of this overhead line worker interview prep. We've covered a lot of ground from those safety protocols to the future of the field, but I have a feeling there's still some hidden gems in these RoleCatcher resources.
You're absolutely right. We focused a lot on technical skills and teamwork, but there's another crucial aspect that often gets overlooked: project management. Even if you're not leading a team yet, demonstrating those organizational skills can really set you apart.
Okay, project management. I can see how that's important for a job that involves coordinating so many moving parts. What kind of questions should we be prepared for?
RoleCatcher had a question that gets right to the point. How do you ensure that work is completed on schedule and within budget? Now, this might seem more relevant for a senior role, but even entry-level line workers need to understand these principles.
So even if we haven't managed a $1 million project, we can still showcase those organizational skills. How do we do that?
Think about the steps you take to plan your work. Prioritize tasks and track your progress. Maybe you use a to-do list, a calendar, or even project management software. Whatever your method, explain it clearly. and highlight how it helps you stay organized and efficient.
So it's about demonstrating that you're not just winging it. You're taking a structured approach to your work.
Right. And imagine they follow up with, have you ever faced a situation where a project fell behind schedule or went over budget? How did you handle it? This tests your problem-solving skills and your ability to adapt to unexpected challenges.
Okay, so they're not just looking for someone who can follow a plan. They want someone who can handle those curveballs and find solutions when things go wrong.
Exactly. You could talk about a time when unexpected weather conditions delayed a project, or when you had to adjust your approach due to equipment failure. The key is to explain how you communicated with your team, reassess the situation, and found a way to get back on track.
This really highlights the importance of communication and flexibility in this role.
It does, and this ties back to something we discussed earlier, staying up to date with industry standards and regulations. RoleCatcher emphasizes that continuous learning is essential in this field.
Yes, the world of safety protocols and best practices is constantly evolving. They're bound to ask about that, right?
Absolutely. You might get a question like, how do you ensure that you are up to date with the latest industry safety standards and regulations? This is your chance to showcase your commitment to professional development and your dedication to safety.
Okay, so how do we knock this one out of the park?
It's all about demonstrating that you're proactive and engaged with the industry. Talk about the resources you use to stay informed. Maybe trade publications, online forums, professional organizations, or training courses.
So it's not just about saying, I care about safety. It's about showing them the specific steps you take to stay in the loop.
Exactly. And if you can mention a recent change in regulations or a new technology that you've been learning about, even better.
It shows that you're not just reciting a generic answer, but you're genuinely passionate about staying ahead of the curve.
Right. And that passion is what will really resonate with the interviewers. Remember, they're not just looking for someone who can do the job. They're looking for someone who's excited about the work and committed to continuous improvement.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. We've covered so much ground, from those nitty-gritty technical details to those big-picture industry trends. And you know what? I'm actually feeling excited about this interview now.
Me too. And I have a feeling you're going to walk in there, showcase your skills and your passion, and absolutely blow them away.
I'm feeling a lot more confident now.
Yeah.
But before we wrap things up, any final words of wisdom for our listener as they head into that interview?
Here's something to ponder. We've talked about the importance of safety, but how do you think the evolving role of an overhead line worker, with its focus on technology and renewable energy, will impact safety protocols in the future? Think about the potential hazards of working with new equipment, integrating smart grid technologies, and adapting to a rapidly changing landscape.
That's a great point. Research in these potential future safety challenges not only shows that you're forward-thinking, but it might spark some insightful questions to ask them, demonstrating your genuine interest in the evolving field.
Exactly. Remember, preparation is key. Be authentic. Showcase your passion, and demonstrate why you're the perfect fit for this dynamic and essential role. Good luck, you got this.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of overhead line workers. We've explored the RoleCatcher resources, tackled those challenging interview questions, and uncovered the secrets to showcasing your skills and passion.
Remember, the power is in your hands. Go out there and light up that interview.